Kate, good morning. Hey, what an exciting day here in St. John. We've got the grand opening of White Food Liners and Stafford County Drug, and I've got Carolyn Dunn here, who's been a big part of this. She's with the Stafford County Economic Development Board. Carolyn, tell me what it means to have this here in Stafford after 2.5 years of not having a grocery store.
Well, clearly a grocery facility is a very strategic business to have in a community, and we've had a lot of people pulling together to make sure that we find a way to maintain that in Stafford County or in St. John. I've counted over 10% of the town's population has been involved in this in some way or another over the past 2 years. So that means either being on a volunteer committee guiding decisions, or on a board that voted to approve authorization or funding on city council during at least 10 different votes over the past 2 years. On the Economic Development Board, or they've contributed their own hard-earned money toward the effort. So that doesn't even consider the idea that St. John citizens passed a referendum early on to implement a 1% sales tax that made a lot of the city's role possible. So a lot of people have been pulling together on this for a long time.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Stafford County Marketplace, White's Food Liners, Stafford County Drug, Tiger Stop. I'd like to introduce one of the people who's made this possible, Stafford County Economic Development Director, Carolyn Dunn.
To kick this off, we have the St. John Band here to lead us in the Star Spangled Banner.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Welcome, everyone. I'm so pleased to see so many people here today. We've got people from all over the state and even the school band. I think that really underscores what a big deal this is and how much this has been a citywide effort and even beyond our own city. I was looking back, and over 10% of the town's population has had a direct hand in getting this going. They've been on a volunteer committee that has guided decisions, on a board that voted to approve authorization or funding, served on city council during at least 10 different votes to approve this, or contributed their own hard-earned money toward the effort. This doesn't even consider that the citizens of St. John voted in a referendum to implement a 1% sales tax that made much of the city's role possible, or over 12 different sources of finance, different programs from around the state that contributed to this. So there also have been local contractors that have played key roles highlighted on your program. There are over 50 different contractors, over 250 workers that have contributed to construction, almost all of which are independent businesses, and most, if not from Stafford County, are based in an adjacent county. In fact, we had students from all 3 school districts in in Stafford County coming to see the store, and the purpose of that wasn't just about retail grocery, even as excited as we are about that, but to highlight the various professionals and technical vocations that maybe we don't think about that are needed here in our area, from civil and electrical engineers to refrigeration technicians. There's been a variety of people that have played a big role in getting us to this point. So it's taken a lot of collective effort to get to this point. There's been a lot of thought going into the over $1 million raised to get us to this point. We're borrowing over $2 million to make it happen. And many of you here have played key roles in that, for which we're very thankful. But to me, that's not the bigger story. If we all shop here as predicted, and that is important, if we all shop here as predicted, the full effect of these 2 businesses being here, not only the direct impact in employing people and collecting taxes, but that ripple effect that makes an impact in our school. It has an impact on other businesses. That ripple effect, the full effect, is nearly $10 million a year. That's huge in a town of this size. So I think that's a real testament to how everyone here is a part of setting a different trajectory for a town. We really are. Again, this would not have happened without many people pulling in the same direction. I hope this is an example of what can be accomplished in Stafford County when we all set our collective minds to achieving a significant goal. We can accomplish significant aspirations, create new commerce, and write a strong and thriving story for the future. Now, 2 people that have been a very big part of getting this going are Pat and Jordan White, and the owners of Stafford County Drug, Lance Freeman, David Sheeha, and Chris Davis, the pharmacist. They've done an incredible job of setting up these 2 enterprises and assembling of a team of employees who will carry these businesses into the future. And with that, I'd like to introduce Pat White.
Okay. Well, I hope to make this short and sweet, but I do want to thank some people today. 2.5 years ago, or a little over 2.5 years ago, some crazy woman from St. John called me and said, we want to know if we'd heard that the store had shut down and were we interested in coming down. And of course, she called about 15 or 20 other grocers, and we all said the same thing, absolutely not. And unfortunately, or fortunately, I was the one that said, hey, I'll still talk to you about it. I'll counsel you. I'll give you advice, whatever you want to do. And so this is what happened. But a couple weeks later, she called, and I sent my son Jordan. I said, you go to the meetings, deal with those crazy people. Tell them how much it's going to cost. Let's scare them out of this thing. And finally, he'd come back from every meeting and he'd say, Dad, these guys, they've got quite a bit of money raised. I think they're getting serious about this. And so finally they asked us, they said, what do you have to do to participate in this thing? And so we sat down and figured it out, and we came back to a meeting, and we sat down and we told them, and I thought they're going to kick me out of this room, because it was it was a pretty tough little deal. Well, and of course, you know, the conservative banker that was on the board stood up and said, "I think we can do this," and I about fell out of my chair. So, but here we are. We're glad to be here. It's, you know, it's an amazing facility. I think it's an amazing town, amazing county, and but there's some people I really want to thank. Of course, first of all, the people of St. John and Stafford County, the Stafford County Economic Development Board, Carolyn Dunn, the executive director, and her assistant Ashley Bevan. They have done an amazing job of, you know, taking, you know, I think the vision of the town and really putting it, you know, into a picture that we can live with here. They've done an amazing job. Their foresight has been something that's really amazing. Also want to thank our cooperative warehouse, Associated Wholesale Grocers. They've given us technical advice, expertise, and a lot of man hours that we couldn't do without them. I know Chase Gala was the general contractor. His team at J.A. Knight and Company are second to none in getting things done and being a general contractor. He picked out some, you know, amazing contractors, subcontractors that, you know, that were, I don't know if they ever had a fight. We didn't see it, but, you know, he kept things running smoothly. And I really do think that the attitude of the town and of the people had something to do with, you know, I think the subcontractors understood how special this project was. And we had three new citizens in St. John because of this, that we know because of this, that are going to work in the store, and they've worked their tails off the last couple of months. Matt Osborne, Joey Noland, and Greg Lehman. And they're going to be the leaders of the St. John team. We're really excited about them. We have a bunch of green people in there, so cut them some slack, but we're really excited about the people that we've hired here. And that's one of the things people have said, you know, you're not going to be able to hire anybody, but I think we've got a good crew, and we'll keep getting better, we hope. I also want to thank the managers and teams at our other stores. You know, my son and I haven't been able to spend much time at the other stores like we really need to and want to, and those guys keep our business going, and they come by here and help out. We've got several around today that are helping do things, so they're an important part of this whole process. And most of all, I want to thank my family. My parents started this in 1953 in Coldwater, Kansas. And they're 94 and 92 years old. My dad wants to be here today, but he couldn't get a ride, but he will. He'll be around before long. I have a daughter, Carly, who's the smart one of the family, who's not in the business. She's getting her doctorate in audiology at KU Med. So, and she's forbidden to have a relationship with a grocer. Absolutely. So, and I have two sons, Jordan and Brennan. Brennan is store manager of Phillipsburg store. He's doing a great job. He's down here helping today, and he's a slender kid with a big smile and a bigger beard. So he'll help you out. Jordan is my oldest son. He spearheaded this thing. He's had his finger on every part of it. He'll be here a lot, taking care of things. We have a new daughter-in-law, Julia. And in the middle of this whole thing, about 100 family and friends 2 weeks ago took off for Las Vegas, and Jordan and Julia were married. So her honeymoon is, her husband's been spending it in St. John. So. Quite a honeymoon. And then I have two grandkids, Moxie and Oliver. They've already torn up about what 10 people put together inside there, but we're going to see them a lot more now that we had this open. And I also want to thank my wife, Tanya. We've been married for 38 years. We haven't always agreed on everything, but she supported me and supports the family. So thank you. When we get done with all this stuff here to come in and shop. And there's no limit today. Thank you.
I'd like to introduce now David Sheeha and Chris Davis with Stafford County Drug.
Hello, I'm David, and so thankful to be here today. St. John, like much of rural Kansas since the early 80s, has been in rural decline. And I'm so impressed with the community of St. John and so thankful to be a part of this because I really believe that through some of the things you talk about, the reverberating effect of what this grocery store can do for your community and the pharmacy here. And hopefully we're reversing that. Hopefully we're making St. John great again. We're doing things for our children and things for the families that want to be a part of here. The biggest person I want to thank, and I want him to speak a little bit, is Chris. We recruited Chris to come to St. John, uproot his family, come down here and say, we're going to put a store here, but we don't know if it's going to work out, so good luck.
Thanks, David. So like Carolyn said, there's so many people, so many thank yous to go out, but I'm going to try to make it short and sweet so that you don't have to stand here out in the cold any longer. Number one thank you goes out to Farmer Clinic, both here in St. John and over in Stafford. They have been incredible to work with, letting everyone know that we are an option here in the county to get their prescriptions. Secondly, I would be remiss if I didn't thank my wonderful wife, Gail, for everything that she does. Her impact, both on me and on the pharmacy as a whole, it's indescribable, the things that she does. And then lastly, a huge thank you just to everyone as a community. Things like this don't happen without the great community support from everyone. So we thank you for your continued support, not only of the pharmacy, but Stafford County Marketplace as a whole, because we're very excited to be a part of everything. So the one thing that I want to say is we're on the south side of the building. If you have any questions, need anything, come see us because we're here for you guys. We're here to serve the community. So thank you guys again.
Mayor Dakota Tucker.
Well, since everyone's stolen my speech, thanks, Chris. Appreciate that. Dakota Tucker, Mayor of St. John, and on behalf of the city, we are just so thankful for everyone's hard work and commitment to this community. I just want to tell the community this is because of you. Everybody pulling together. And I want to say thank you to Stafford County Economic Development, to Carolyn, to Ashley, to the board. I want to say thank you to everyone who's made this possible. One message: shop here. Don't go out of town or I'm going to kick you out. Okay? Don't put that on the news. But anyway, I won't get reelected. But no, we thank you so much. Shop local first is huge, and we're going to do it. We're going to make this happen. I want to thank my staff at City Hall for everything that they've done through this project and helping my headaches go away. So thank you all. I really appreciate it, and it's a great day to be a part of St. John, Kansas. We're going to do this. Thank you.
As I mentioned before, we have utilized about 12 different programs that are intended for rural development in one way or another. And I'm afraid I'm going to forget some of the important people, but Kansas Corn Commission has been a contributor. We have ethanol at the pumps here, which is one more way that this facility supports local commerce. It'll be about $100,000 worth of grain and grain processed through ethanol facilities in adjacent counties that contributes to this. So sometimes when you think about local groceries, you think about fruits and vegetables, but our actual largest local produce element is actually out here in front of the gas pumps in this case. two other foundations that have played a big role in drawing attention to the need for rural grocery development in Kansas are Sunflower Foundation and Kansas Health Foundation. They both contributed to this project, and with that I'd like to introduce Elizabeth Berger. They were early supporters of this project, helped us with some setup legal costs that really set the stage for the other things that built into actually being able to construct this facility.
Good morning. I was hoping Carolyn would get the crowd worked up by asking who got in their car the earliest this morning to get here. Okay, 8 o'clock, who got in the car at 8 o'clock? 7 o'clock? 6 o'clock? 5:55. Because I was told there'd be a prize in the store for the earliest person. No. I drove here from Lecompton. I'm thrilled to be here. I'm Elizabeth Berger, representing the Sunflower Foundation, Healthcare for Kansas. Like the Kansas Health Foundation, we are a statewide health philanthropy working in all 105 counties, helping communities serve their health needs of their residents better. Also, as Carolyn said, both we and the Kansas Health Foundation place a very high priority on access to food in rural regions of our state. If you don't have a well-stocked grocery store that's easy and nearby, that is the cornerstone of a healthy, nutritious diet, especially for children and families. And we know that when a town loses a grocery store, that not only creates a geographic hardship of having to drive 10, 20, 50 miles for a gallon of milk, but it can be a psychological blow as well. And we can only assume that affects the health of a community. So what a tremendous success story today. When Carolyn was calling and bugging Tim White, she was also calling and bugging me, which was great, because that's how we were able to figure out how St. John and Stafford County could play a role in a project that Sunflower had just launched with the help of the tremendous Rural Grocery Initiative called HERO, Healthy Eating Rural Opportunities. And the timing was just perfect. This program is designed to help rural communities identify their food access needs and then develop strategies and solutions to address them. So the need here was a grocery store. Pretty easy, right? Carolyn and I started the journey together, and I've learned so many things about starting a grocery store. And I guess it comes down to, it ain't for sissies. This has been an impressive feat. And it's helped me see how the traditional grocery store model might not work in 21st century frontier and rural counties. So this partnership of Stafford County Economic Development as owner and White's Food Liner as operator, this could really be a model and a demonstration project for other parts of the state, other parts of the country. I know Carolyn has fielded phone calls from all over the country about, how did you do this? How is it working? How can we do it? Who knows? Maybe White's Food Liner will be opening a store in North Dakota soon. So, you know. The last thing I'll say is, as a health foundation, our mission is to serve as a catalyst to improve the health of Kansans. We're not very big, so it's a really sweet spot intersection where St. John and Stafford County, they had the idea, you had the energy, you just needed a little fuel, funding fuel for the fire to get this started. So thank you for letting us be here along the way. I think I'm illegally parked in the back, so as soon as this is over, I'm going to do a blitz shop through the store. No, yeah. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And one other player in that role of trying to improve health of all Kansans is the Kansas Health Foundation. And the unique connection there is that Steve Cohen, the CEO, is from St. John, as you all know. So he's, I know, told some stories around the state from his own family's experience of what it means when your store loses, or your town loses its store. So I would like for him to also say a few words today.
Thank you, Carolyn. Well, it's a particular pleasure for me to be here today because I grew up here, as Carolyn said, and I have a very special fondness for this community. I feel like I owe so much to St. John for what I have become today. So many adults were mentors in my life. The school played a huge part in my life here, and I'm very proud and have always been very proud to be from St. John. Being the president of the Kansas Health Foundation has played a big role in my fondness for not only St. John, but the entire state of Kansas, and trying to figure out how we can work hard to improve the health of all Kansans. I don't know if many of you know about the Kansas Health Foundation, but it was formed from the sale of Wesley Medical Center back in 1985. We received the assets when that hospital was sold. They are invested, and from those investments, we make grants to improve the health of all Kansans. And looking back over the history of the Kansas Health Foundation, I'm proud to say that we have actually given over $1.7 million in grants to Stafford County since the foundation was formed. As we are looking at ways to improve the health of Kansans, one of the grants that we approved, our board approved, about a year ago was a grant focused on providing access to healthy foods for Kansas. It was a $4 million grant. And I'm happy to say that one of the first grants out of that fund was a grant approved for this grocery store. So we are happy that that was one of the first grants to help go towards this effort. And I have a personal connection, obviously, as Carolyn mentioned, knowing how important that a local grocery store is to a community, because those of you that have lived in this community for a very long time can remember when the Dillon store used to be located on the south side of the square many years ago. And I worked at that Dillon store when I was in high school. I worked there before school and after school and during the weekends. And I remember how important that store was to the community. I mean, not only because of the food that it provided to the community, which is very obvious, but also it was a community gathering place. People came in the store, interacted with each other, and I think that's a very, very important part of the community, for a place for people just to come together and see each other, learn about each other, talk about the sports that are going on in the school. Also, I got to know the adults in the community working at that store very closely, and knew them, grew close to them, and they knew me. And that is a very important part of growing up in a community. Just interacting with adults and getting to know them, because adults play a very important role in children's lives. So when the store closed in 2016, that affected me very personally. Not only for me as a person, but also my family members that live here, knowing that they couldn't have access to food anymore. So that affected me very personally, and I really wanted to work hard to make it's certain that people across our state of Kansas could have access to food, because this is not only happening in St. John, it's happening all over the state of Kansas and many rural communities all over our country. So we are glad to play a role in making this happen here in St. John, and I wish Carolyn and all of you continued success with this effort. It's a very proud day for me and for many of you, I know, here today. Continued success. Very happy to be a part of this. Thank you.
So with that, I think we'd like to ceremoniously cut the ribbon. I'd like to invite all of you that have played a part in this to come and join us in that photo. Network Kansas has several representatives here. They also were a charitable foundation that played a part in funding. Kansas Corn Commission, Jim and Sybil Ronan, Greg and Susan Lewis, the SJN Bank Board and Chad Fisher. Anyone here from the Odd Fellows Lodge? I bet there's no other grocery store in Kansas that can claim that the Odd Fellows played a key role in getting going. The Holman family, Don and Suzanne Hildebrand. Anyone here from Rural Grocery Initiative? Golden Belt Telephone has played a part in a loan through USDA. Mary Jo Taylor advocated for us at the state legislature. All of you, I would like to invite all of you to join us. Of course, the Economic Development Board, both current and former members, city council members. I see some of the people who played an early role, Tanya, in the committee that guided the whole vision for this. Can you all please join us?
Okay, cut on 3.
Which camera do we look at?
1, 2, 3. There we go. Come on.
This is my favorite.
Get it out. Get it in your card.